In this episode, we're going to finish carving on our horse. We're going to add definition to the rear and front legs. Then we're going to give everything a final sand and get it ready for the paint booth. Also, I'm going to introduce you to a young lady that is a first-time wood carver. She drove 5 hours to come up and take my 5-day carving course, and I'm going to show you just how well she did. That's all coming up next. Let's get started. Welcome back to the shop. Before I introduce you to Andrea, my first-time wood carving student that came up from Virginia, I want to go ahead and get this horse pretty well knocked out, and there's not much left to do. Last episode, we not only rough carved it, but we were able to get in here and start giving this a quick sand just to see where and how this horse is going to look. Now, I've gone ahead and filled some imperfections in some different areas with my quick wood epoxy putty. So really what's left to do is work on our legs, and I'll show you how I add a little bit of muscle tone or definition here in these legs. So we'll go around and do that on the front legs and the rear legs. Give this really a good final sand with my orbital sander, and there's not much more really at that point. Just a good sand, probably about an hour and a half worth of work here, and then we can get that knocked out. And then I'll take you over and I'll introduce you to Andrea, and I'll show you her horse and what she was able to accomplish in 5 days. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Now, since this front leg here is pretty well sanded, we can go ahead and we'll add a little bit of a nice muscle tone, or just a nice interesting line, a shadow line. I always call them shadow lines. I have seen pictures of this on other rocking horses online, and some of the old world carvers used to do this. So I've just kind of mimicked this, and I just like the look, and I like when I can add, again, interesting shadow lines. I just think it looks so much nicer. Now, to pull this off, again, I'm just using my Kutzall. This is a Kutzall sanding wheel here, or carving wheel. This is a medium grit, and I'm just going to take it in. This is the donut. So if you look this up, and again, I'll put a link in the description. This is the donut. They have a flat and a donut. I like the donut for this part because I can kind of go in here and just very, very lightly just kind of plow out just enough of a line, again, just to give this some interest here. And then we'll finish it up again with my little sanding flap wheel here. And I can't stress enough how nice these are and how useful they are. So once we get this cut in, we'll go in here and just kind of clean up all of the lines and the marks left behind by this medium grit. We'll just clean it up on the drill, and there's not much more to it, and then we'll just give it all a good sand. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now we'll just go around, I'll do the other side, and we'll just continue and work right around this horse and get all of these legs done. Our front legs are pretty well done, so I'm moving back here to our back legs. Now this is pretty much the same as the front legs. I'm going to go over and just knock these corners down with my medium grit carving donut. And Then I'll go in with my Sandiflex at 80 grit and just kind of round everything over, and then we'll go back in and we'll cut in a little bit of definition, a little bit of like this back tenon back here, and that should be it. That's looking pretty good. and I think that's about as far as I want to go on it right now. There's still plenty of sanding to do on these, but that's at least enough that I can get it into the paint booth where we can finish sanding. But now that the back legs are done and the details are all on, the plan is I'm just going to work around this horse and give it another final sand or a good sand. So we'll start on this side. I'm just going to tip it on its side. We'll do this side with my orbital sander with 60 grit, then we'll go to 80 grit and then 120 grit, and we'll do the same. We'll roll it upside down. We'll do the underside, then we'll finish off with this side. The only thing left to do then is really put our detail line up here in the neck. And again, I'll show you how to do that. We just use our the Kutzall, the medium grit donut or carving wheel. That's how I put that in. I'll show you how I do that. But really, we're down to just some basic sanding, and we've got this pretty well in the bag, and we can get it into the paint booth. So maybe another half an hour or so. So yeah, let's get after it. So as you saw, I just went back in with my medium coarse or medium grit carving donut or carving wheel. I'm not sure what to call those things. They call them wheels or discs. Anyways, I went in, I just wanted to bring this back leg in this area out just a little bit more and flatten this down. It seemed like that stomach, because again, when I was rough carving and carving that, I left this area high. So I did want to go back in and start taking some of that material off and set it down or set it back in there a little bit more. And then all I'm doing, 60 grit paper with my orbital palm sander here, is I'm just going in and smoothing that all out. And I'm even using the edges to go in and cut in just a little bit, because then I can take my Sandiflex and go back in here and then hit it, and that'll smooth everything out. But yeah, you can use your orbital sander as you know, basically you're carving with it with 60 grit, so you can go in and do some really interesting lines with that, and then just go over it with your Sandiflex and, you know, even it all out. That's what I'm doing right there. So we've got this side pretty well done. I'm going to do a little bit more sanding on it. I'm going to flip it up. We're going to do this area here where it meets the where the neck meets the top of our body block, and then we'll cut this line in along here, a little bit more sanding, and we've got it pretty well ready to go. Nice. I like it. Now, I'll bring you around here and let's go ahead and cut this little detail in the neck. This is that muscle that kind of runs down along the back of the neck. So I always like to do it where the head is turning, then that's the area, you know, that's the side I like to do it. So we've got our head turning to the left, so we'll put this detail right here on the left. Nothing to it. So again, using my medium grit donut wheel or carving disc here, I'm just going to start right up in this area here. I'm going to stay away from the back of the ear. We can get that when we put on our little flap wheel on the drill. But again, you want to leave yourself enough room that we've got to cut the channel in for the main. And that's as much as I do right there. You can see I was just real light, just touching this edge right here, just knocking that down. It'll make it easier when we go to sand. So again, to sand this, let's use our orbital sander and we'll just use the edge. We can flatten this all down and we'll finish it off with our little flap wheel on the drill. This is another reason why when you use these, save the old ones too, because this one already has a nice rounded profile, so it's perfect for this. So I've got a whole pile of these and, you know, different stages where I've wore them down, and they're good for different areas. Again, up underneath the neck, you know, underneath the jaw, that area. See, now we can kind of come up close to the ear and we'll just round this all over. Now I've got 120 loaded up on my Sandiflex. Again, light sand all over here, and this is pretty well, we've got it. So a little light sanding, and especially in between these ears. We can do this with, you know, hand sanding. It doesn't take very long. And this might be a pretty good transition to talk about my carving class that I offer here. Now, if you notice, I have one of my eyes set on this side. I don't have it set on the other side. And the reason I did that is I mentioned at the beginning of this episode about a carving course. My student that was here for 5 days, I was trying to go through and give her as much information as I could. And so we set an eye, and I just wanted her to see how to set the eye. Now, getting back to the carving class that I offer here at the shop, I put this up on my website about 4 or 5 years ago. And I always tell people, if you're stuck or if you'd like to learn how to do these, I make the shop available and you can come and learn how to do this. And I've had people that were interested, reached out to me, but nobody ever, took me up on the offer and followed through and came. Until Andrea came along. I got an email about a month ago, I think it was last month, and she said that she bought the plans from the Rocking Horse shop, got everything cut out, and then just absolutely didn't know what to do, and noticed on my website that I offer a carving course for 5 days. And I said, or she reached out to me and she said, could I possibly come up and learn how to carve and maybe have you teach me? And I said, absolutely you can. All the information again is on my website, and she was asking for dates and when, my next class was. Well, I used to offer dates on my website. I used to have a calendar and everything else, but being that nobody's really ever taken me up on the offer to come here to the shop, I took that part down. So when she asked me about specific dates or dates that I'm carving, I said, listen, I'm carving here at the shop every day, almost probably 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. It just depends on the season. So it's no big deal to have an extra person here and for me to stop what I'm doing and show somebody how to make one of these horses. So I said, listen, I'll work around your schedule. You can come up and, I'll be happy to show you. So she signed up for the course and she picked November, I think it was November 18th, I think is when she came for 5 days. And she asked me again if maybe weekends, would weekends be okay? And I said, absolutely. Again, I'm working all of the time on these. I try to take Sundays off. That's my one day. But again, for this, I'm happy to do that. So she came up and she told me a little bit about her weaknesses too, that she'd like to work on over the phone. And so one of the things that she told me was the bandsaw. So I kind of put a program together for her, specifically for her. And I wanted her to learn a little bit on the bandsaw, so I showed her how to set it up, what to look for, and so I put her to work at the bandsaw, and that seemed to work really, really well. So the first day here was pretty much cutting everything out. I had her cut her bottom body block, I had her cut the neck muscles, everything that we could cut out so that she can get used to, using the bandsaw here. And then in between that, we cut out, I think I had her cut the legs out first, then her head and her neck. And then what we did is we stopped, and then I had her, I took her over to the joiner. We got her head glued to the neck. Again, trying to work ahead and use the best time available since we only had 5 days. We glued her head to her neck so that I could set that aside in 2 or 3 hours while she was cutting the rest of her pieces out. Then maybe we can take that out of the clamps, her head, take that out of the clamps, get her eye pieces glued on, and set that aside so the following day, which would have been Saturday, we can get in and start carving her head. The way I kind of put that all together for her, it really was slick, and it seemed like she really, really learned a lot. And the goal was, and I never thought that we could get as far along as what we did, but the plan was is maybe Tuesday, her last day, I would show her power carving, just let her get used to it and see how I do it, and then she can go home and pick up from there and finish her horse. Well, by Monday, we had our horse pretty well ready to power carve, so that gave us 2 days, 2 whole days to power carve our horse. Just get white off. So now what I would do is flip it upside down. I would, again, I just continue to cut in, because what we're trying to do is establish this leg is going to come all the way through, and then it's going to connect up here at the top. Okay. So we're... So I'm here with Andrea, and Andrea has been taking my 5-day carving course that I offer. And how did you find me, first of all, Andrea?
I think I came across your horses on Etsy.
Okay.
And then I found you through your website.
Okay.
And saw that you offered a course.
Okay.
Just loved your horses.
And so you had ordered the plans from the Rocking Horse Shop, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the laminated,
Yeah.
the plywood.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that. Because I've never done it, so.
Yeah, you cut it out of 3/4 inch plywood, but it was a lot of cutting.
I can imagine.
I
can imagine.
Get the thickness you needed.
And then once you got it cut, because you have a little bit of, you're not afraid of tools. I mean, you have horses and you have a farm, and so you've done some things around there, so you're no stranger to tools and some hand tools and things.
Yeah, more hand tools. I think the
bandsaw?
Yeah, the bandsaw.
Yeah.
I was trying to use an old one that my dad had, so it wasn't set up properly, and I didn't have the right.
Right, because that's the one thing that you talked about when we first, entertained the idea of you coming up and taking the course. You gave me a little bit of your background, and you said you were a little bit timid on the bandsaw, and you really wanted to learn how to set it up and everything else. Right. Okay, so yeah, when we started talking about having her come up, that was one of the areas that she was a little bit timid on. So what my plan was to put this program or put her class together is I had everything ready to go when you came Friday. I had her legs all ready to be cut out, your head, your neck, the bottom body block, all of that. So day one, she spent the time at the bandsaw, and I really wanted you to get comfortable with the bandsaw.
I think I'm a lot more comfortable
Good.
with the bandsaw.
Good. So you know a little bit more now. You feel a little bit more confident. So that's where we started. And in 5 days, people, look at this. So today it's about 2 o'clock right now on Tuesday. I would never have thought we would have gotten this done in 5 days.
No, I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I mean, this is a first for me. From her, day one, she cut her own legs out. I had her cut the bottom body block out, which is difficult. She cut her head. She did all of that. And here we are on day 5, and we kind of were kicking around today. Okay. I mean, we really weren't working. And we were talking about it earlier, that really Saturday, I would say, was kind of our toughest day.
Yeah.
You even left here a little bit whooped, and I was a little bit whooped. But we really focused on getting her head carved. We wanted that right. And then Sunday she came in, and we kind of just spent a few hours finishing it up.
Yeah, the body went so fast.
And the body went really fast. So she's now understands power carving. She'd never done that before. And of course, she's never done any of this. And I can't believe we've been sitting here looking at this, walking around it. And look, I mean, she's done a little bit more sanding. There's a little bit of things that she can do at home, but I'm so proud of you. That's just awesome that you were able to get this knocked out in 5 days. So Yeah, if you're interested, I'm more than happy, again, to help anybody out there. If you're interested in building one of these, or again, if you're stuck and you don't know where to go, reach out to me. You can get me all my contact information at greenfieldwoodworks.com. I have another gentleman. It's funny because I've offered this class for like 4 years on my website, and I've had some people contact me. Nobody's ever really taken me up on it. You're the first one out of all these years. Here comes Andrea up from Virginia. And she took, she's like, I want to learn. And my goodness, I'm so excited for you. And I'm going to send you home. We're going to spend the rest of our day here, and I'm going to put together a little bit of a goodie bag, I guess, of some different things. I'm going to send you home too. I want to send you with another head because I really want to encourage you because you've got talent to continue on. I hope you are. Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And maybe you can get that Rocky finish too.
Maybe.
Yeah, but you're always welcome back here anytime. So, just so you know that. But again, if you're interested and again, you're stuck, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. And there's information on there about taking the carving course. I've got another guy that's coming up here in December, Will, from Tennessee, and he started the Hero from the Rocking Horse Shop. He started the Hero horse, and he got into his head, and he's just not sure where to go. So again, he's going to be coming up, which is really cool. I've really enjoyed. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having you here at the shop these last 5 days. I'm going to miss seeing you go.
I know. I have to get back to my real job.
Yeah, right. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm usually here by myself with Willow and Max. You see them running around. My wife's usually at work, so I've been here by myself. So it's been really fun to have Andrea here and showing her how to do this and encouraging her. So yeah, this has been really great. So, well, I think all we have to do now, let's get some bubble wrap. We'll get you all packed up and get you on your way.
All right.
All right. I, again, never thought we'd get that far along, but it just, everything clicked and everything worked out. And, again, I think she really left here and she learned a lot. And I was just so excited and happy for her that, she was able to walk out of here with just a little bit more work to do on her horse, and she's got it pretty well, wrapped out. So that's my carving course. And again, if you're interested in it, you can go on my website, and there's all kinds of information on there. And again, happy to work with anybody on how to make these horses. I'm going to give you on my carving courses, I'm going to give you the very basics, on how to carve a horse. And I want you, once you do that and you leave here, the idea is then you can take it from there, do another one, and do it your own way. Once you kind of get the basics down, you understand kind of like the roadmap of how to make these horses, then you can kind of start playing with them like I've done over the years and maybe add a little bit or, put your own little personality in there. But that was my first carving course experience, and I'll tell you, it was just what a great time. I've taught here before. I've taught homeschool kids here before, wood shop, and I just had a ball. I love teaching and I love showing people, how to do different things, and especially these horses, because I really get excited when I'm making a new horse and getting into it. And I want that excitement to kind of roll over into, somebody that's here that is, carving and learning how to do this. It's just so much fun. But that's pretty much my carving course, and that's the experience I had with her. Well, and that's pretty much going to finish this episode out. Next week, we're going to go into the paint booth. We're going to carry this guy in, and we're going to give this another final sand because I've got a lot more light in the paint booth, and that's where I usually do all of my fine sanding in there. We'll set the eye. I'm going to bring you in again, and I'm going to show you in detail how I set the eye, make the eyelid, all of that. We'll cut in the slot for the mane. We'll cut the hole for the tail. We'll get all of that done, and then maybe we can start getting some primer on this guy. Once again, I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me here at the shop, and I hope you are picking something up from these videos. If you are, drop me a comment or shoot me an email. Love to hear from you out there. You can check me out on Instagram. You can check me out on Pinterest. I have an Etsy page, and of course my website. And again, you can find all the information about my carving courses on there. Happy to help anyone out. Please, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. And hey, we'll see you back here at the shop next week. Thanks again. Take care.